What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning into my latest video. Unbelievably, 3 in a row now. That's 3 Sundays. Hopefully I can keep it up. You might have noticed a new intro, graphic and tune, kindly done for me by B Plumbing, just someone off Instagram who follows me, and Jack, who works for Untitled UK. They sorted that out, so hope you like it. 1980s vibe. I was born in the 80s when life was good. We used to have yo-yos with Coca-Cola on the side. They were cool. Boglins, if you remember them. You could go down the park 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and turn back up at home at 6-7 p.m. when you were hungry. Yeah, life was a lot better back then. Roller discos, they were a thing. Bauer roller skates. Anyway, the downside to being born in the 80s is I'm pushing, well, I'm nearly 40. So, yeah, that's the only downside I can think of. Pick a mix. Penny sweets were actually still a penny in the 80s. Films were better. Cartoons were better. Anyway, enough about that. So, this week, had a tough week. Thursday was particularly tough. I took an extra job on for a mate. He's having some damp proofing done. Can I go and take the radiators off? Because he didn't know he had to take the radiators off. Went there, turned his boiler off, and it wouldn't turn back on. PCB literally dead. Tried everything, hairdryer, fuse, fast blow fuse. Couldn't get it working. Didn't even have the time to be there to drain down the radiators. And then it's like, what do I do now? He's got no heat and hot water. So added stress for that. Did a nice, well, it was really tricky actually. We did a combi swap yesterday with Marcus. That's going to be in next week's video. But yeah, tricky because it was tight space. Had to get a lot done with the pipework behind it. That's going to be an interesting watch. Got him about 7 o'clock, fell asleep, woke up at 10. Normally when I get home, I like to do some kind of training. Obviously we're in lockdown, so I can't go to the gym. So a bit of training in the back garden, maybe do some laps of the park in my weighted vest. But yeah, zonked, absolutely knackered. So this week, Viessmann 222 install. I've got an immersion heater job I did, investigating a leak. That was an emergency call out. The IF'd up feature is back. Todd's back with another top tip, and then a little feature that I've put at the end, a sort of preview of what's coming up in next week's video. So I hope you like it. My plan going forward, I'm going to try and be consistent with one plumbing video every Sunday, and then if I get good at it and things are going well, then I'm going to add a back of the van review, some kind of tool review midweek possibly, or like a special. Like I've got a video where I flooded a Chinese restaurant. I'm going to do that. That'll be like a one-off special. So there'll be some things like that to look forward to. If you don't already subscribe, please subscribe because that helps me out and yeah, encourages me to make more videos. So yeah, I'll shut up now. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. It's been a while since I've had to do this, but it's so far away. I've got 2 hose pipes together and it's still not long enough. So then I'm into a length of waste pipe just to get me out the door. Just to drain it. Just hope no one comes in. Right, immersion heaters. I've not done an immersion heater for a little while now, and it's something that when I was an apprentice I'd be doing 2-3 a week. It was like a bread and butter job. The issue here is the bottom one is tripping the power, so when the tenant's putting hot water on, all his power's going off. They've sent an electrician out and he said you need a plumber. So I'm going to swap both because there's no point draining it all down to take the bottom one out and not replacing the top one, especially as the bottom one's failed and I'm imagining it's got a big split in it. So I'm going to drain this down, remove the 2 immersions and just basically talk you through the job. Now you'll find this on, especially on new pre-lag cylinders, you'll have to clear a bit of the insulation away to get your spanner onto that immersion. And this one is so old you can just see it crumbling away. One very, very important thing I've missed out. If you are going to attempt this, you need to say to your customer first, these immersions have probably been in 10 plus years and they're going to be really difficult to get out. You can very easily damage, split this cylinder, and then you will need a new one. So you need to warn your customer beforehand that might happen. You don't want to attempt it, damage the cylinder, and then them say it's your fault, and then you have to foot the bill for a new cylinder. So you can see already I'm struggling to get that to budge. Now, only attempt this when it's full of water. If you do it when it's empty, you've got even more chance of damaging the cylinder, but I just give it a very gentle tap and you can just see it just starts to go very slightly, and now after that little tap I can turn it out. do this when it's full of water, don't do it when it's empty. Once you're happy that it's drained out, you just unscrew it and it comes out. This is the top one. We're about halfway through draining down now. You can just see the water still in the cylinder. So we've not damaged the copper around the edge, and the face of the seat where the immersion is going to sit onto is nice and smooth. It's not damaged. So I'm pretty confident that the new one's going to go back in fine. Now everyone makes their immersions different. This is what I do. So I put the washer on, wrap PTFE around the thread, and then I put a smearing of paste over my washer. And I learned that off Kev, and it's been good as gold. I've never had an immersion leak. That's the way I do it. You might do it different, that's totally fine. Because of the weight distribution of these, it can be sometimes quite tricky to get them to go in without cross-threading them, so just be careful on that. And then I'm just going to nip this one up, still now waiting for the bottom one to finish draining. I didn't talk over that bit so you could hear the last bits of water going out through the hose. So I've wired this one up while I've been waiting for it to drain down, because I'm confident it's not going to leak, but you might not want to do that if you're new to the game, because you cannot get your immersion spanner back on once you've wired it up. So if you do get one that leaks, then you're going to have to take that wire out again. So just something to think about. So now I'm going to get the bottom one out. I've already pre-tapped this with a hammer while it was full, so this one's going to come out nice and easy. This is going to be the one that's damaged, because this is the one that's tripping the power, so we're going to expect to see some kind of split in that. One thing that's common that you'll find is when an immersion's failed, when you try and get it out, you won't be able to pull it out because the element bends, it gets too big. I'll just put the flash on so you can see this, but as I turn it round, you can see there, it's bent out of shape, it's too big to come out of the hole. So what I have to do is try and get some kind of screwdriver or something in to help me bend that back into some kind of shape where you can get it out. You can see I'm still struggling there. So pull that out and check it out. You normally find it's split. You can see there's a big split on the middle there. So basically when you turn in the power on, it's touching the water and tripping the RCD. Again, checking for damage. Copper looks fine. Nice flat face on that tap-in on the cylinder. So we'll just make the new immersion up and tighten that in after giving it a bit of a clean. So the water's back on, that's filling up. I've left my lucky hose on, so even though we've shut the drain cock, just in case it all goes tits up and one of those leaks, leave your hose on. You don't want to pack all that away and then in a panic have to get it all out again if something starts leaking. And everyone does this, just keep touching it and checking that you can't see any water on your fingers. So obviously the top one's wired, the bottom one I've not wired yet, so you can see I can still get my tool on that one. And then I'll just be sat here doing that basically while it's filling up until water comes out the tap. So I know the cylinder's full now because water's just started to dribble out that tap. So one final check with the fingers. Is it all dry? Yes, happy days. Check the top one. So ready to turn the power on, test it all, go home. This is a job, I really enjoyed this one. I did it last year, didn't really have my YouTube head on, so no content for YouTube, but I did a lot on Instagram with it. But it was just a really nice job, and the reason I'm showing you it is because I made a video on how to bend the pipes. So I'm just going to drop that in here. Obviously would have been a lot easier just to cut that skirting board out of the way, but I bent around it, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun, this job. So the first thing I want to do is measure the distance from the copper pipe where it's going to be in front of the skirting to where it's going to sit in the clip. Then the distance from where the skirting board starts to taper back to where the pipe's going to sit in the joist. The angle of the top of the skirting I'm just doing by eye. Now once I've pulled my first bend, I mark on the bender where I went to because I'm going to use that for all 5 pipes. Spin it round and using another bit of copper, hold that parallel with the pipe to get the distance between the clip and the pipe. And that's my first offset there. You can see there I've gone to the red line again. Now the offset's done, we just need the 90 where it's going to sit in the joist. So we mark down from where the skirting board tapers back to where we want the centre of our pipe, and using another piece of copper pipe, line up with the line we've just made, and then we can easily pull a 90. And that's it done. It's as simple as that. It might not be the way you do it, it might not be the best method, but it's my method and it works for me. And just to dispel a few myths about cleaning pipe, you don't need Brasso, just some extra fine steel wool, give it a rub down for about 10-15 seconds, and that's it, job done. Right guys, today's job, well, the next few days, we're taking out this floor standing boiler and we're putting in this Viessmann 222, which is a plate loaded, unvented cylinder there. There's two pumps in it, one to do the hot water, one for the central heating circuit. We'll be talking about that later, but just for the start of the job, I'll just show you. So this is what's coming out, so I'm just going to explain to you the pipe work we've got going on. So this one here is the flow from the boiler. The reason I know that is because the pump's on here with the arrow going up, so that's the flow away from the boiler. Air separator here, so if you don't know, I think I've explained these before, but because the diameter of that is larger than this pipe, when the water gets into here, it slows it down, slows the speed of the water down, and it's spinning as well. So any air bubbles in the water can go out through, this is the cold feed and vent, so it basically separates the air. And then we come up here, this is the bypass that tees in there with the return from the system. This is the flow going up, and then we've got a 2-port there for the hot water and a 2-port there for the heating, which you control by thermostats, you know about that. So then we've got the return coming down here, either from the heating circuit or the hot water, and the return coming down here from the heating or the hot water, and then the return coming up from the downstairs radiator circuit. This pipe here is the gas supply to the boiler. So this is all coming out. The plumber has already put in tails there for the heating system. So we've got hot and cold flow and return. So there's two RSJs the other side of there, so they couldn't come out anywhere. So we've got to get them into the new cupboard to connect to the Viessmann, and that's the job. There's loads of radiators going on and things, but that's what we're doing. So when we've got this cleared out, we'll have another look at it. Bit of real world plumbing. So the pipe up there was cut through yesterday, and it's been an open end for over 24 hours. I'm now just piping up the boiler, and it suddenly started to piss out because someone did something upstairs, released an airlock, whatever, but now I'm stood over a bucket. So that's finally stopped now. So basically before here, we had the floor standing boiler, and the flow up to the primary coil on the hot water cylinder was that pipe there. I just put this on, just direct it into the bucket. So that part there that we cut was the primary coil, so the flow up to the hot water cylinder. The cylinder's being drained, and Glenn shook it just to see how much water was left in it, and it split the coil inside, so all the water that was in the cylinder then started coming out. We filled about 20 buckets with that, but it's stopped now. What a bastard. So this is how far I've got at the minute. So basically the boiler's further forward than the clip distance, so I've had to kick them all back, and I've tried to do it so they're all level. Obviously the 15 and 22 will be slightly different, but tried my best with that. It don't look too bad. And they're going to come up, and somehow they've got to get onto them that the other plumber put in before we got here. We're going to try and get them into this void though, so they're not in the room. Yeah, that's it so far. So obviously I filmed this at the start. The floor standing boiler was there, explained all the pipe work to you. This is how far I've got at the minute. It's obviously not a finished job. We've got the power on, gas is live to there. We're not filled up yet. So just to explain this job, basically myself and Glenn are doing the boiler and this pipe work in the kitchen. The rest of the house, the heating circuit, is been done by the customer. He's doing the house himself. So they've ran speed fit throughout this house and left us, I showed you when we first got here, they left us copper tails sticking down just here for us to get onto. So the idea was to come in front of here and get along. But we managed to work out that we could get through into this void. We smashed a hole in the ceiling there and there's a void. So we've pulled their speed fit into there so that they can get onto these two T's there, and then we've just run our copper, bent it round to suit. And yeah, this is as far as we've got. So flows on the left, that's the air separator, Spirotec air separator. Hot water, lever valve, gas supply there. It's 22 down to, we've got to put a test point there so we can gas rate it. Cold coming down with a full bore valve, and then the return with a Spirotec dirt separator on. So this is Glenn, do you want to tell us about, obviously we've got a bit of a fancy display here.
Yeah, so this is the Viessmann's new control platform. All touchscreen, colour, weather compensated, as you can see there. We can change that if we wish to. Continuous, which is your old-fashioned.
You're going to have a lot of customisation on this, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do all sorts on this. You can have mixers, everything. But for the moment, we're going to run it as one heating zone, which is weather compensated. And that will be good because it'll be on 17:1 modulation on this model. It's a storage combi, so we've got a traditional boiler in the top.
So that's the gas boiler there.
Gas boiler there, which is enclosed. I don't think I can take this off because the top panel. You can just see through there. That's where the boiler is.
Yeah. Okay, that's the boiler.
All right. So we get a flow which comes out of the boiler into the hydro block. Works similar basis to a combi, but it's a storage combi. If you look under here, your cold main is pumped through the plate heat exchanger and then back down to this. It's a lot of buffer, if you like. It acts as an unvented, but it's a buffer. So you've got split cold in there and in here, and then out and the back to the domestic side. So that's the hot outlet.
So our cold mains comes into this.
Into there.
If no one's drawing a tap, this will be under then pressure, like similar to leukemia.
It's an unvented cylinder. Yeah, we've put the multifunctional valve at the main so we can balance the whole house.
Yeah.
This is the sensor which the boiler sees how warm this is. The boiler sees this live.
So the boiler's heating this.
Yep.
So we've got stored hot water ready to go.
Ready to go.
If that's used, does then the boiler change it over to plate?
This is domestic hot water priority. So as soon as this drops below its set point, it sees the temperature live. So there's no zone valves and switch lives. It's a live sensor. So it's the same as any other stored hot water system.
Yeah.
As soon as that drops, then it will turn back over, top this up. So equivalent to having 210 litres in an unvented cylinder.
Okay. But what I'm saying is if you used all of that,
Turns over.
Turns over to then operate off the plate.
Yeah.
So you always get
hot water. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the heating, the pump for the heating's on the back.
That's it.
And then that will, when you put the heating on, it will just send it
through
the flow and return.
Through there, and then out on the flow.
Nice big expansion vessel there.
Yeah, that's an improvement from their last model. The last one was 8 litres. That looks like 12 or 15. It's good. Like that.
I reckon that's probably 18, 24 litres maybe.
The other bonus of this is they've made the wiring a lot easier. Here we've got the weather comp on 1 and 2, so the outsource sensor. 3 and 4 is the additional controller inside if we want one, and 5 and 6 is a low loss header sensor.
So in the future, this is going to have an underfloor circuit on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Add to it.
Yeah. What we'll do, top panel comes off. We put a plate heat exchanger on top. The flow return goes into that, and then we end up with another 2 flow returns, which will go directly to the underfloor manifold with no mixer, and the boiler will control it with the pump and the plate to help the flow rates, and that will all be controlled on here as 2 independent circuits.
Cool. So we've been here 2 days, didn't do a full day yesterday, we basically ripped out yesterday, and then this morning we lined it with ply. I've been doing the pipe work, Glenn's been doing the work on the cold mains, ripped the cylinder out upstairs. What do you reckon, there's another day left just to get this finished? Got the flue to do.
Yeah, flue, condense,
commission it, fill up, stuff like that. Yeah. So another day should see the end of this job. I'll see if Glenn will do a video when it's fully working just to demonstrate it. And I'll drop it in on the end of the YouTube video. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a challenging job. Nothing's really gone right, has it? There's been, and obviously
old property.
We're waiting on the rads. None of the rads have been finished yet, but that's down to customer. So yeah, so we're getting there with the boiler now. It's not quite finished yet. We've got a little bit to do, but we've got the power on, and I think this is the future. Like all boilers are going to be like this. LCD screen, flashing red light, and this one even talks to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Raymer. Everything is going extremely well. Let me put it this way, Mr. Raymer. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made.
Hi guys, it's me, Todd from Glitter Services, back with another Todd's Top Tip. So, when cleaning these heat exchangers, you don't want to be damaging that back pad. So, in your Valent service kit, cut this section here. And that way you can properly clean the heat exchanger without damaging that back pad. Look at that. Hope you enjoyed it, guys.
If you want to add one of these nylon brushes for cleaning heat exchangers to your kit, you can get them from Toolstation and they're about £4. What's up guys, it's PB. 60-second fault finding on this Viessmann combi boiler. Now I've been called out because they've got no central heating, but we can see here the boiler's firing for hot water when no one's running the hot tap. So what I'm doing now is I'm checking the flow switch. My suspicion is the flow switch is stuck, so the boiler thinks that the tap's open when it's not. I'm proving this with the continuity setting on my multimeter to show that the flow switch has closed the circuit. Doing the same test on the new flow switch before we install it shows that we've got an open circuit because there's no continuity there. With the new flow switch installed in the boiler without the tap open, we've got an open circuit. And we open the tap, the flow switch moves, closes the circuit and sends a signal to the PCB for the boiler to fire up for hot water. We can now see that the boiler is working for central heating. When we open the tap, it moves over to hot water mode, and then when we close the tap, it lets the boiler go back to central heating. So we're back in business. I know I'm not the only person who hates this. Looking for house numbers in the dark. It's virtually impossible, and it really gets me, not angry, but it winds me up, frustrates me. Especially when you've been called out, so you don't want to be out of the house anyway, you just want to get back home. Let me just pull over and I'll tell you what I've got to do. So, I've had a bad day today. Earlier today I was in Shep Shed doing some jobs, and then I got home about 6:30, and another job came through. Guess where it was? Shep Shed. So I come all the way back out to where I was. Got a leak through the ceiling, so I'm going to take you in and we're going to do a bit of a, you know, first time of me looking at it and try and work out what the problem is together. Well, not together, but you'll watch me, my brain cogs whirring as I'm trying to work out what it is. Size of my ears. Oh, big ears. I think the bell worked.
So within the last half an hour or so it's stopped, but it's mainly been from along here,
Yeah.
and then along the top of the window. You can probably see where it's been trickling down.
So you came home from work and it was leaking when you got home, and you'd not used
Nope.
the bathroom.
Nope. Shower or bath.
How long were you out for?
Today. About 3 hours.
About 3 hours, and no one used it.
No.
While you before, okay. Right, and the bathroom's above.
Yes.
Right.
The only thing I can think of was the hot water was on at the time.
Hot water was on, as in heating up.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And that's the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
But yeah, the bathroom's straight above.
Right, I'll pop up and have a look.
Yeah.
Right, I'll try and do this fault finding live with you. So that, judging by where I've just come upstairs, that beam is underneath that wall there. So, see where the hot water cylinder is, airing cupboard. Oh, it's not in there, so it's not that. I don't feel like it's overflowing. Could be the one from the roof. Depending when that overflow pipe goes out. Goes into the floor there. I'm just thinking, obviously, the obvious place for a leak to come through into a kitchen would be from the bath. But if they've not used the bath, if they're telling me the truth, if they've not used the bath, then a good shout might be if the tank in the loft's overflowing, and this grey plastic overflow pipe, which is, where is it? I just found it a second ago. Well, it changed to copper there. So if that copper pipe goes in and then along to the outside wall, and the tank's overflowing, it could be that. So I need to find out if the pipe outside has been leaking. Let's go and ask. Oh, that's the wall outside where it's leaking through, but I can't see any kind of overflow pipe down here. But what I did find was that. What the fuck? They put cold water into this outbuilding. Oh yeah, they have ladies' toilet. That's fucking brilliant, that is. Don't touch it, probably leak. I'm looking under the bath now. Magic floating middle leg. I mean, that's leaked at some point, but that's not wet. It looks like it's wet on the camera, but it's not. That's dry. Let's try this end as well. I can see, I don't know if you can see it. Let me try. There's that copper overflow pipe going along underneath there. That's all dry under there as well. See too much of this. It's filled and boxed in. What I'll probably do is one by one just start putting some water down the bath, basin, flushing the toilet. I mean, could have just let the toilet flush before they left, walked out the door, and that's the water that's come through. It's not completely absurd, so try that as well. In fact, we'll start with the toilet. Right, so this is my detective work. This is how far I've got. So I've flushed the toilet 10 times. Nothing's come through the kitchen downstairs. I've run the bath. Nothing's come through. I've run this. Nothing's come through. But I did find this. So let's imagine just before she went out to work, she brushed her teeth. That's fine. Excuse me. That's fine. I've done that. It's not leaking. But this tap's loose. And when you turn it off, don't turn it the full way. Can you see that water trickling down the body now? Can you see that root of water there? And because that's loose, it's been dripping. So I'll put the flash on and on. See if we can see a drip. There we go. Now, if she was out for 3 hours and that was dripping, maybe it was a tiny bit faster than that. And then that's going to run over the edge and come down, and that's the only thing I think it is. So I'm going to fix that and then say to her, use your house as normal, let me know if anything else happens, but that's what I think it is. That's my educated guess. So after I found that, I spoke to the tenant. I said, is there any chance that before you left your house you maybe brush your teeth or use the cold basin tap? And she said yes. And then I just showed her, and then she said, okay, yeah. When I got home and saw the leak, I came up and just made sure everything was turned off. So yeah, I think that was it.
My name's John Cruikshank from Cruikshank Plumbing and Heating. Now, my disaster story was that I didn't survey a job properly when I went to fit a boiler. So I hung the boiler up on the wall, piped it all up correctly and everything, and then connected onto a waste pipe that ran into the cupboard below the boiler. For happy days, you know, the easy one, condenses right there. Go home, get a phone call a couple of hours later from the customer. Boiler's not working, and there's all mad brown stuff coming out the flue. So I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. All right, so I jump in the van, go back there. Anyway, took the boiler case off, and there was shit everywhere. I've only cut the condense into the other side of the Saniflow outlet, and it filled up the boiler with shit. And that was a lesson learned. Always make sure that you're connected into a pipe that is not feeding something else.
So next week's video, this was a really interesting job, but before I started it, it was a job that I didn't know that I was going to be able to do. Bit complicated, but I managed to change all this into a much simpler system like this.